Hi there, and welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we'll be learning about triangles and polygons, okay? And on the triangles and polygons, we're learning about the properties of triangles. Now, at this point, I'd remind you to set the video to play in 1080p HD. Very important that you do so you see everything clearly. You can do so via the settings icon on the bottom right. And as the lesson progresses, if you have any issues at all, anything comes up as unclear, please feel free to get in touch, okay? We'll be very happy to help. Now, let's jump right into the lesson. So triangles and polygons, the properties of triangles. Now, we all know what triangles are, and then we're actually going to touch on three very important properties of triangles in this lesson. Okay, and the first property is the sum of angles in a triangle. Now, if you consider the triangle, this triangle here, and you have angles in this triangle, you have A, B, and C. Okay, I tell you that the sum of A, B, and C, so if you add all the angles in the triangle together, you would arrive at 180 degrees. And that is our first property, the sum of angles in the triangle. When you add them together, you arrive at 180 degrees. Now, the next property we would discuss is external angle of a triangle. So for example, if you have a triangle like this and you have an external angle, so at one point on the triangle we're considering the external angle at that point at C, okay, and then you have two internal angles, basically the other two angles of the triangle. Now what we know is that the sum of the two angles in the triangle would equal the external angle at the other point, or at the third angle. Okay, so what you have is you have that the sum of A and B, so A plus B equals C. And finally, we're going to talk about isosceles triangles. Now, what is an isosceles triangle? An isosceles triangle is a triangle with two sides equal. So we have three types of triangles. We have first we have the equilateral triangle. The equilateral triangle has all sides equal, okay, and then we have the isosceles triangle that has two sides equal, okay, and then we have the scalar triangle that has no sides equal. But what we're talking about now is the isosceles triangle, and the isosceles triangle has two sides equal. Okay, so we have a triangle like this, and we introduce these marks. These marks, very often you see these marks and when you're dealing with topics like this, and basically what these tell you is that those two sides are equal. Okay, you could, at the moment we have two marks each. Sometimes you can have one, okay, it still means the same thing. And sometimes you can have a mixture of one and maybe two. It simply tells you that the ones with the ones are equal and the ones with the two are equals, but the ones with the one and twos are not equal, if you understand what I'm trying to say here. But then back to isosceles triangles. Now at the moment you have two sides equal, and when you have two sides equal, what that usually means is you have two angles equal. And what we have is that the base angles of an isosceles triangle, A and B, are equal, i.e. A equals B. Now note that A and B do not equal the third angle, okay, the third angle at the top there, okay, but then A equals B. And that is pretty much what we'll be learning, what we would be addressing in this lesson, basically. So we have the sum of angles in the triangle, the external angle of a triangle, and the base angles of an isosceles triangle. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve some examples. So I have example 1, and example 1 says the angles of a triangle are 2x, 3x, and 4x. Okay, find the value of x in degrees. How do we go about doing this? Now we're going to apply the first law there, okay, the sum of angles in the triangle. So if we have that the angles in the triangle are 2x, 3x, and 4x, it should suggest that 2x plus 3x plus 4x should equal 180 degrees. Okay, so once we have that, we can pretty much just go ahead and solve for x. So we have that 2x plus 3x plus 4x equals 180. I can add those up, and that would give me 9x equals 180. And then I have that x equals 20 degrees. Very, very simple, very straightforward. Let's move on to the next example. Now, example 2. And example 2 says solve for the size of the angle marked x in the figure below. Okay, so we have this figure, okay, and from the marks you can tell that this is an isosceles triangle, okay, and we have the angle at the top as 70 degrees, okay, and now equal angles in this case are the angles at the bottom, okay. So we have x as one of those angles, and then we have another angle. So we've been asked to solve for x. How do we go about doing that? Now, from what we know about isosceles triangles, the two angles at the bottom are equal, i.e., if the first angle is x, the second angle should be x as well. Okay, so we have x on one end and x on the other end. Okay, i.e., the sum of the two base angles would be 2x. Okay, now when you add the sum of those base angles to the sum of the angle at the top, you would arrive at the total sum, the sum of angles in the triangle, and you have 180 degrees. And what you will arrive at is you have that 2x plus 70 equals 180. Okay, and once you've established that relationship, you can go ahead and solve for x. You have that 2x plus 70 equals 180. 2x equals 180 minus 70. 2x equals 110, and then we have that x equals 55 degrees. Okay, so very simple. Let's do another one. Okay, example 3. And example 3 says solve for the size of the angle marked x in the figure below. Okay, and we have a very interesting figure there. Okay, so we have an external angle. We have an external angle, and we also have an isosceles triangle there. Okay, and basically if you notice, based on the way the marks are arranged there, you'd have that our two base equal angles are x and the other angle at the top there. Okay, so x and the other angle there, and so we have two angles in the triangle. We have an external angle. It should suggest that the sum of those two angles would equal the angle, the external angle. And from our law regarding isosceles triangles, we know that those two angles are equal. It would tell us that 2x equals 80. Okay, so we have 2x as 80. Okay, the sum of the two angles inside the triangle, okay, would equal the external angle at the other angle of the triangle. Okay, and then we also know that the two angles are equal. So if we have x there, we also have x on the other end, and when we have x plus x, we have 2x. So 2x equals 80. Okay, and then step 2, we pretty much want to solve this. 2x equals 80, x equals 40 degrees. These are actually fairly simple. Okay, there really isn't much to all of this, and yeah, bye for now.